Hello, welcome back. We're going to start a series on Genesis chapters 1, 2, and 3. And I wanted to share my notes with you from when I was a student. I use these to lecture with. They're kind of special notes to me. So I scanned the original. I keep them in a little plastic here, and I use them when I teach. And I wanted to share it with you because I want to show you what to look for when you read scripture. Remember the context. We have to remember interpretation of scripture assumes the context of general revelation, special revelation, historic Christianity, book, what kind of book it is, chapter, verse, and word. And sometimes in the scriptures things are repeated, and they're repeated for emphasis. They want us to draw our attention to that. So I have devised some markings in my notes for things that are repeated. So you can see I've blocked some things out here. When I see "and God said" is repeated, I circle things. It was good, and it was so. So I would like you to develop a way of reading scripture where you can take notes. I would like you to have the freedom to mark it up. I don't recommend using your mom's Bible and marking it up, but you could probably get a study Bible, or you can get printed off the internet. So this was cut and pasted from the internet originally and then printed off, and I wrote on it. All right, so we want to talk about Genesis. Remember, this is in the context of the previous video where we talked about the Christian worldview. And so now we're going to get into the biblical worldview. This would be what sets the tone, the story of redemptive revelation, and that's included in the rest of Scripture. All right, so let's just read through it and discuss. At the end, we'll summarize some things we can say about the three main themes of the scriptures. The three main themes are going to be creation, fall, and redemption. Okay, so I would like you to know that. What are the three main themes of scripture? Creation, fall, redemption. And these are the three main themes of the biblical worldview. And you can see I have that sketched here. Okay, so in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So in the beginning, remember, this is in accord with the view of God in Christianity, that God is eternal and everything else had a beginning, is temporal. So there is a beginning, and the beginning is of time. And time begins when there are finite things. So God in theism is outside of time. He's eternal. He is forever. And time is an aspect of the created order. So there was no time prior to the creation. There was no time before time began. So in the beginning of everything, God created the heavens and the earth. So we should expect special revelation to start this way, that God is the creator and everything else is created. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. All right, so I want you to use your imagination. If you were making a movie, how would you envision this? The earth was formless and empty. So notice there's no form. We're going to have to talk about the original creation and subsequent creation. So originally, God brings into being what didn't previously exist, and he brings it into being from his word, his being. And the earth is formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. So you should think about, what is the surface of the deep? What is the deep? And the Spirit of God, so notice there's a Spirit of God, not physical, Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So you should be thinking, what are the waters? It seems like this is everything. Everything is in one location. The deep is the waters. The earth is within this formless and empty waters. So there's an original creation that is this. And the Spirit of God is hovering over the waters. So think about that. There's the Spirit. And then God said, let there be light. But all we have right now are the waters. So where's the light? Probably coming from within the waters. And there was light. He said it, notice. So we have subsequent creation now. So once we have the waters, now subsequent creation is going to come about through forming what is formless and filling what was not filled. So subsequent creation is by forming and filling. And God said, so God is speaking the creation into being through his word. Let there be light. And there was light. God saw that the light was good. So here's something that's going to be repeated. It was good. And he separated the light from the darkness. So subsequent creation is by separation. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the distinction between night and day, light and darkness. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So here we have a day. And the day seems to be marked off by the Spirit of God hovering over the waters. And day is probably contextual. Who's reading this book? Who writes this book? Moses. And it's for the people of God, the nation of Israel. And so the context is day for the people God. Earthlings, we'll just say. And God said, let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water. And God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. So notice, God says it, and it was so. Separating water from water. So this is the stretching out of the expanse of the universe from this water. And he called the expanse sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. So this is probably the expansion of interstellar space from this original water. So I don't know if you want to use your imagination, think of this water as becoming very heavy and very dense and collapsing in on itself in some kind of thermonuclear process, the light coming from within, and then it expands out. And then God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. So there's the expanse, the water separating the water from the water, and now there's water, and I think here now we're on earth. It was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. So you have the separation of land and seas. And God saw that it was good. So again, he said it, it was so, it was good. Separation. Now we're going to see some filling going on. Then God said, so now we're on earth, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. So now you see I have these carrots around that because that's something that's repeated many times. According to their various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day. So let's pause here for a moment. I have some notes over here about what it means for things to be good. So notice they are according to God's intention He called it into being, and it was so. This is how he intended it. And each thing has a kind. And a kind is like the distinction between this thing and this thing. There are trees, and then there are, I don't know, shrubs. And they're different. And there's nothing that's not good so far, right? So the third day is when plants, vegetation are created. And what do plants need to be sustained? They need sunshine. So sometimes people try to read back into this story the evolutionary account of some sort. There are many varieties of trying to combine Christianity with evolution. I would say that's not a contextual reading of this. It's anachronistic. It's reading from our present day back into the scriptures. Things are according to their kinds. In evolution, they're not according to their kinds. The third day is when vegetation is made. You need a lot of time for the evolution of species. The sun doesn't come until day 4. So you can't have a gap between day 3 and day 4 where there's no sun. That's millions of years old, millions of years long, because then you wouldn't have the vegetation continuing without the sun. So look at day 4. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky, to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark the seasons and days and years. And let them be lights in the expanse of the sky, to give light on the earth." And it was so. So this is interstellar space. Use your imagination. Perhaps this original water expands, and in that process, heavy bodies, planets are formed, and the light from suns is coming back now. I'm just saying, use your imagination. That's mine. I got it from a book, though. And God said, okay, and it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. So this word govern is rule, like dominion, which we're going to see later. We're going to see that God governs, the light in man, as understanding governs. So light is what rules and governs. So the sun rules the day, and the moon rules the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. Again, a separation. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 4th day. So notice we don't have light until the 4th day. And this is light from the sun and the stars. So I don't know if that evolutionary account is going to work unless we change things a bit. Okay, verse 20. And God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." And so here we see the atmosphere of the earth where the birds fly. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living and moving thing with which the water teems, according to their kinds. So it's making a point that the animals are created according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kinds. And God saw that it was good. So the kinds are good, and the kinds are not evolving. It's not progress from one thing to another. It's each thing is a kind. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." So he's telling the animals to fill. He's commanding them to increase and fill the seas. So the seas aren't currently full. The animals have to reproduce to fill the earth. and there was evening, and there was morning, the 5th day. So day 5, we've got a lot of animals in the seas and the birds. And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Have you been counting how many according to their kinds we've gone through? Let's go back and look. That's why I make these little notations, so we can count. Okay, we have, I think it starts here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seems like a good number, doesn't it? It's repeated 7 times. That's complete. And the things are made according to their kind. And how many times were they good? Let's go back and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, that's not. Hang on, I think I missed this one. 6. And 7's going to be on the next page. So maybe we go back and look again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over here we're going to get, very good, 7. So repeated 7 times is a kind of completion in that. Now we get to the creation of humans. Let's look at this. Then God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground, which would include Kino down here. He doesn't like that. All right, so let's go back to this. Now, remember, this is also the scripture of the Hebrews, the Jewish people. And so Christians like to say, oh, look, this is a sign of the Trinity when God is speaking as plural. Let us make man in our image, in our likeness. I would say that is probably a warranted reading for Christianity. But you will have to reckon with others who would object to that, particularly Jewish people who reject the Trinity. What is an alternative? Perhaps God is speaking in the royal we, but that is a puzzling. Verse when we see God speaking in the plural. I'll let you think about it. And God is saying, let the humans, let man. Now, this is also something, man right now is one being. So we live in a time where we want to not just say man, we say different, different things now. We don't use the masculine, but originally the masculine here, man, is all of humankind. Because there's just one person, and you'll see in a little while the creation of the man and the woman. But right now, it's just one person, and all of humanity is in that person, technically. So when Christianity talks about man, this is the context. It's not a contemporary feminist critique scenario. Okay, and man, humankind, is to rule. Again, we saw that word rule with the sun and this moon. They were to rule. The light is to rule. So humans are to rule over the whole creation. And ruling is something that is in the image of God. So humans are in the image of God. Remember, we talked about God as a spirit, infinite, eternal, unchangeable, in being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, truth. Well, human beings are in the image of God, meaning They are finite, temporal, and changeable in those attributes. And one of those attributes is wisdom. And wisdom is the light by which humans rule over the created order. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. So male and female are equal in God, and they are equally to rule. They have the capacity to understand and to exercise wisdom and to develop the created order. Okay, let's go to the next line. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it." Here it is again. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over every living creature that moves on the ground. So humans are given this particular task to rule. And ruling is dominion. That's a concept we're going to learn. Dominion is understanding the powers that are latent in the created order and developing them according to their nature and their particular excellence. Then God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food." So notice, everybody's a vegetarian originally. Everybody's a vegan. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. Animals aren't eating each other. That's something that is necessary for the evolutionary account, survival of the fittest. But here, everybody's eating green plants for food. And it was so. God said it, and it was so. So, in the original creation, the animals did not devour each other, and there was no natural evil. There's no moral evil. There's no evil. So God saw that all he had made, God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. So it was good 6 times, and the 7th time it was very good. The emphasis here on good, meaning no evil. So in Christianity, evil is not original. God didn't create the world evil. There's no suffering and death. Animals are not eating each other. People are not eating animals. And there's no moral evil. Okay, so that's creation. I'm going to pause here and we'll talk about God's particular relationship with humans in the next chapter.